In the last video, we saw how to write to a file. So we said what we need to do is open the file with W mode for writing or A mode for appending. And then we use the write method to write data to the file. And then when we were done, we closed the file. What we're going to focus on in this video is how to read from the file. And there are a couple methods that we are going to learn. Some of them are more, we're going to use more, but I want to show you several methods. So the first thing is, if you want to open a file for reading, the first thing is you're going to open it with the R mode instead of the W or the A. So that's the first thing that we need to do. We always need to close the file at the end. You don't have to because there's nothing really to save, but it's good practice that if you open a file, you should close it when you're done. Now in the middle, when we want to read, there are different ways to read. The first way is calling .read on the file object. And what the read does, if you don't pass in any arguments, it reads the whole content of the file. So let's go to mu and here what we did was we opened some files for writing. What I'm going to do now is open them for reading. I want to see what is in the file. So I'm going to open, let's say in file equal to open. And I will use the one here that we used for at the beginning. So I'm going to use the one that's in my mu folder, pets.txt. So I'm going to just open pets.txt. And this time I'm opening it for reading. And always remember to close. And I just want to remind you that this variable, you can choose whatever name. So here we didn't have to call it file H. It could have been anything. Here it could be like I could call it, for example, my pets. Okay, so you can call this variable anything you want. It's just a variable name. But the open has to be open. The close has to be the close method. Okay, so here I'm opening the file. I remember to close and I want to read it. So here I will read the entire contents of the file. How do I do that? I use the read method. So when I read the contents of the file, it's going to give me a string. So here I'm going to create a string called content, and I'm going to say that's equal to my pets.read. Okay, so now I read the contents. I want to confirm that I read it correctly, so I'm going to print it out. So I'll say I read from the file. Then I'm going to, actually, let's just put that on one line and the contents on this next line, okay? And let's run it and see what happens. So here it says I read from the file, and then it's telling me what it read from the file. It read everything. It read dog, cat, bird. And notice it's preserving. Here it was a space, here it was a new line. So it's preserving the content, it's preserving the white spaces, whether it's a space or a new line. So this is how you would read the entire contents of the file. Now, what if I wanted to read a certain number of bytes, basically a certain number of characters? Well, what I can do is use a read method that you give it the number of characters, and that will read that number of characters only. So here, let's try it again, and I'm just gonna copy the whole thing again. And this time I'm going to read the first 10 characters only. So here I'm going to say 10, and let's put a message here. The first 10 characters are, and let's see what they are. Oops. So it read the first 10 characters. GOG was 3, the space is 4, 5, 6, 7, the new line is 8, and then 9, 10. So remember, the white spaces and the enter are also counted as characters. So here when I said I want to read 10 characters, it gave me a partial part. So if you want to read the entire content, use the read. If you want to read a certain number of characters, you can put that in the read function. Now there's another method that you can use, which is Readline. What does Readline do? Well, Readline reads one line at a time. So if I have a file and it has a bunch of lines and I want to read one line at a time, I can use the Readline. Let's try that out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a couple more lines to my file. So let's add a rabbit also. And let's put /n here. So I'm going to put some /n's and other places I'm not going to write the /n's. Let's have a dolphin. Wouldn't it be nice to have a dolphin as a pet? So let's just, okay, so I put it actually in this pets. Let's put it here too. Okay, now both contents are the same. Now let's try one more time. So now I'm going to again open my pets equal to open pets.txt. Again, I'm opening it for reading. I have to remember to close it. And what I want to do is read one line at a time. Now this file has how many lines do you think? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do you think it has 5 lines? Well, let's see. Why don't we write a loop that runs 5 times? So let's say for I in range 5. So this is going to run 5 times for numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a line. So I'm going to go to my pets and say read line. So this is going to read me a line. And then I'm going to print that line. So here what I'm doing is I'm writing a for loop that will run 5 times. Write a loop that runs 5 times and prints the line each time. Okay, let's see what happens when we do that. And for now, I'm just going to comment out the previous content, so we only see this output. And I want you to notice what's going on. So let's come here to the top to see what the file has and what's actually getting printed. So here, the first line had dog and cat, and then the next line had bird, and the next one had rabbit and dolphin. Do you see that? Now, why is it printing those extra enters that are there? It is printing those extra enters because 2 things are happening. Number 1, the line actually does have dog, cat, enter. So that's why. So the dog, cat has an enter after it. Okay, so that means dog, cat is going to get printed, and then we go to the next line. Now, why is bird not printed on this line? It's because the default behavior of the print function is after it prints the line, it goes to the next line. So it does another enter. So now I'm getting 2 enters. I'm getting dog, cat, enter. That was in the content in the file. And then I'm getting the enter that's coming from the print function. And one of the things that you will notice is that when you read a line, it reads that line with the enter. So when you're writing, you have to manually put the enter in. When you're reading, you're going to get that enter read in. So what should you do? You really want to remove that enter. So what we want to do is we want to remove the enter. So we're going to use a strip. So remember we talked about write strip and L strip. If I just say strip, what it's going to do, it's going to remove the enter and the white spaces from both lines. But what I really want to do is I want to just strip the enter. In case there's a space that's supposed to be there, I don't want to remove it. So I'm going to remove the enter. So basically I'm going to the line that I read and saying remove the enter, because I know when I wrote to the file, I manually put an enter in there. So I'm going to manually remove the enter. And now when I print it out, it looks a little bit better. So that is one thing that you will need to notice, is that when you're writing, we had an enter. And so when we're reading, we need to also strip the enter. Now I just used the strip method. The right way to really do it is to remove just the right enter. So I should have used the R strips. Let me go and fix that to just strip only from the right side, which is going to only strip from the end. Okay, so the right side is this side. So it's going to only strip from the end. So here what I'm doing is I am removing the enter at the end of the line, which is the right side. So this is one thing that you will need to make sure you keep track of when you are reading from a file, that you remove the enter at the end of the line that was written because of the right.